So let's talk about that totally new concept for next generation Xbox that is being discussed online right now. Let's look into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about next generation Xbox. Now it looks like this console is going to launch around 2026, late 2026 if I were to guess. Looks like there's going to be two consoles. A normal console, home console that you put under your TV, connect to TV, and also a handheld, right? So these are the latest rumors that people speculate, but you know what? There's something to it. There's also been a number of reports from reliable sources suggesting that hybrid approach is the thing, that Microsoft is actually looking into it, meaning that they want to have both home console and handheld. But also Phil Spencer just cannot stop talking about an Xbox handheld, not really confirming that they are working on one, but he says that he would love to build one, to see one. And at the same time, you've got Jez Corden, for example, reporting that Microsoft is already working on such devices. And I say, I'm talking about devices because they've got multiple prototypes working already. Obviously, the thing with prototypes is that they are testing, certain, specs and tech and that kind of stuff just to check what works. So we don't really know, which of these prototypes is going to end up being released. But I don't really want to focus on the whole hybrid thing right now. We know that the new console is coming. Phil Spencer confirmed that. Sarah Bond confirmed that as well. What I really want to talk about today is an interesting concept that I've seen online. Certain people are talking about it, and this is not a report. It doesn't really come from any kind of reliable sources, just people speculating basically. But I want to talk about this particular concept because I like it, right? So the concept actually is based on, still a home console. Let's forget about a handheld for a minute. And basically what this concept is to kind of open the platform for third-party manufacturers, right? So one thing is opening up an Xbox for Steam, Epic Store, etc., something that Phil Spencer spoke about already. But I want to see Xbox being produced by other companies. And some people say, but that doesn't make much sense. Well, it does, in my opinion. And listen to what I really want to say here. Obviously, we still want Xbox to produce consoles, right? We still want Xbox to be the thing because Microsoft is, let's face it, they are not really making money on selling consoles. They are making money on a software that later these people that buy consoles, pay for, right? And that's kind of cool. So let's have that entry-level consoles, whatever that's going to be, whatever the specs, whatever the price. So, clearly there's going to be both handheld and a standard console. But I would love Microsoft to actually license production of Xbox to other companies too. And the idea behind it is to obviously Microsoft would have to create a sort of like minimum specs for these consoles that, hey guys, you cannot go below that, right? And, probably they would still have to use, Microsoft chips So, whatever, the silicon they will be using for the next gen Xbox. So, they would have to go either through AMD or whatever. But, for example, they could create their own board. And what it does is that, they could, for example, add more RAM, or adding more RAM actually doesn't actually make much sense. But for example, they could put faster RAM on the board, and I will explain what it would do. And so bear with me, it makes sense. So for example, they could install faster RAM, same type of RAM but faster. Allowing for more RAM doesn't actually make sense. So let's stick to faster RAM. Or, for example, they could unlock some of the compute units that are locked usually on Xbox, right? Another thing would be, let's run this console at higher clock speeds, right? That's additional hardware. And on top of that, additional performance, not hardware. And on top of that, they could, implement certain things, or, whatever, right? They could build their own box, or, whatever, right? My point is that having that minimum specs, right, would be required for the games to be compatible, right? So, the question would be, but what sense does it make to actually unlock compute units, or putting faster RAM, or, for example, higher clock speeds? Well, it does make sense, because putting faster RAM actually means that the games would perform better. Same goes for faster clock speeds, right? They would run better. Now, the question is, but obviously, wouldn't Xbox figure that themselves? Yes, they could do that, but I don't think that benefits Xbox per se that much, because they would like to have one standard. But then again, and they would want their console to be as cheap as possible. But at the same time, these third-party manufacturers could actually invest a little bit more money in that design, still based on the same chip, but faster clock speeds. That would require better cooling solutions. So these consoles, of course, would be more expensive, and on top of that, these third-party manufacturers would have to make money on it. So these would not be cheap, but trust me, these consoles would sell like hotcakes. Because in my opinion, not only you are getting something unique, because different Xbox console from different manufacturers could potentially be different in many ways, not only specs wise, but some of these consoles could be towers, other consoles could be like a traditional flat laying on the desk kind of console. Third manufacturers could make a cylindrical kind of console like this one, right? You know what I mean? So this way, not only you are getting a better console in terms of specs, right? And I'm sure there would be companies that would gladly do that. But also you are getting basically different products, different sizes, and I'm just speculating, of course, but I don't know. Maybe they could add some extra features on top of that. Who knows, right? I don't. I kind of focus on these, most important things, like specs and kind of the box of the console, right? But I guess they could do some other stuff too. So that kind of just shows that allowing these other manufacturers would sell, I don't even know if that would sell them like millions of consoles overall extra. Microsoft would not be making money on it anyway, but what it would do, it would obviously, so these consoles would be based on the same chips and would have to run the same operating system. So, the benefit of such consoles for Microsoft would be additional users that could potentially not buy the other console, but this one they could because of that these extra stuff, right? As for the developers, because some people may say, oh, well, but that doesn't make sense because that's too many systems with different specs. Not really, because like I said, we're not talking about totally different chips. We're talking about the same chip, so the APU would have to be the same. But like I said, unlocking additional, usually locked compute units, that would have to be some extra work for these manufacturers. They would have to test, these chips, which one they could do it with. But generally speaking, that extra power, that extra performance coming from faster RAM or higher clock speeds or extra compute units, they could play with it in a sense that would offer gamers extra performance, in a sense that developers would not have to worry about it, because games would just run better like straight away, meaning that most games uses dynamic resolution scaling or have unlocked frame rate kind of modes. So these modes would just take advantage of that extra power, extra bandwidth, memory bandwidth, or etc., kind of automatically, right? So not only you would be getting a unique Xbox when it comes to like the look of it, some features, but also you would be getting extra performance. Now, these would not come cheap, I'm sure, but like I said, for certain unique features and everything, hey, I could actually grab one for sure. So I'm just saying that would kind of offer more variety. And who knows? It's kind of crazy what some companies are able to do with these chips. And it kind of reminds me of situation of the ROG Ally, because like if you look at ROG Ally, and I think there's other like 2 or 3 other machines are actually kind of based on the same chip, right? The only difference between these different devices is like, the other specs. So size of the storage, amount of RAM, speed of RAM, and clock speeds, right? So these are things that different PC handhelds manufacturers, they are still working with the same chip, right? But they, depending on their engineering skills, they can actually achieve different kind of performance goals, if you know what I mean, right? So some of these devices are better, some of these devices are worse, or should I say, some of these devices are more performant while others are less performant. Why? Because of the clock speeds, different memory types, etc., right? But we're still talking about the same underlying technology, the same chip from the same manufacturer. I forgot the name of the AMD chip that like ROG Ally is actually running off of, but it's a very similar concept. But so I would actually like to see it. And I'm not saying that Microsoft should actually create their new next generation Xbox console based on that particular chip. I'm just saying that whatever chip Microsoft is going to produce for next gen Xbox, just let these third-party manufacturers to play with it, and I'm sure we're going to get some very interesting devices out of it. So just an idea, but like I actually like this concept a lot, really. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing what future will bring. Microsoft. This is the thing. Like I know that some people are not necessarily happy about what Microsoft is doing. They're not happy about their new strategy, but at the same time, like that makes things very interesting because next Xbox is going to be kind of exciting Not only because of the specs, obviously it will be a more powerful console. I'm sure there's going to be new technologies, basically used, in that console, but the concept is probably going to be different. They're talking about this hybrid approach and use of machine learning, hopefully, and opening up system for like Steam and other stores, and who knows, maybe these third-party manufacturers. So yeah, interesting times ahead of us for sure. So guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.